I mean, if I hadn't stayed late every night fixing things for her, she wouldn't be where she is today. The room went silent. My sister's voice, sweet, confident, unmistakably smug, hung in the air as she raised her wine glass toward me, smiling like she'd just told a harmless joke. I felt my stomach drop, because she was talking about my promotion. I stood there, frozen, holding a paper plate of untouched food while 20 pairs of eyes turned toward me. My mother blinked in surprise. My aunt nodded slowly, impressed. My father's brows lifted like something finally made sense. And my sister, she didn't even look at me. She was soaking it in. Well, she continued, laughing softly, you all know how I am. I can't just let sloppy work slide. I basically coached her through the entire project. Her hand brushed my arm, possessive, like I was an accessory. I felt heat rush to my face, but I didn't speak. Not yet. Someone clapped. Actually clapped. That's family, my uncle said. Helping each other succeed. I opened my mouth, then closed it. Because I knew, if I reacted now, I'd lose control. And my sister was counting on that. This was supposed to be a celebration. My promotion dinner. My first management role. The thing I'd worked toward for 6 exhausting years at Hartwell Analytics. And somehow she turned it into her moment. I forced a smile and finally spoke. Wow, I said lightly. I didn't realize you'd been doing my job for me. A few people laughed. My sister tilted her head, eyes sharp. Oh honey, you know what I mean. I did. And so did she. That's when the doorbell rang. My mother frowned. Who's that? I turned toward the hallway just as my sister's smile widened. Oh, she said casually, that must be your boss. My heart skipped. I hadn't invited him. But before I could say anything, she added, I mentioned we were celebrating tonight. Thought it'd be nice if he saw how supportive this family is. Supportive. I felt the first cold prickle of something dangerous settle in my chest. He stepped inside moments later, tall, composed, still in his work jacket. Mr. Harrison smiled when he saw me. Congratulations, Natalie, he said warmly. You earned it. Before I could respond, my sister slid right in. She really did, Amber said. With a little guidance. Mr. Harrison blinked. Guidance. She laughed. From me. We've collaborated quite a bit, actually. That was the word she chose. Collaborated. I watched my boss's expression change, just slightly. Not anger. Not confusion. Recognition. He looked at me. And I nodded. Once. I see, he said slowly. Then he turned to her. Which part did you help with? He didn't hesitate. The client pitch, she said. The restructuring proposal. And honestly, the final execution. Every word was a lie. Every single one. The room buzzed. My mother smiled proudly at her. My father leaned back, impressed. And my boss, he smiled too. But it didn't reach his eyes. That's fascinating, he said. Because according to our records, you don't work for us. The silence was immediate. My sister laughed too quickly. Oh, I meant informally. As family. He nodded. Then you'll understand why I'm confused. He turned to me. Would you mind explaining how the promotion decision was made? Every eye snapped to me. My sister's fingers tightened around her glass. I set my plate down. Sure, I said calmly. The promotion was based on performance metrics from the last 18 months. Client retention, revenue growth, and leadership evaluations. I paused. And the project she's referencing? I met Amber's gaze. I worked on that alone. My sister scoffed. That's not fair. Mr. Harrison raised a hand. Actually, he said, it is. He reached into his folder and pulled out a document. This, he continued, is the evaluation committee report. Authored by me. He handed it to my father. My father's face drained of color as he read. My mother leaned in. My sister froze. She wasn't promoted because of help, Mr. Harrison said. She was promoted despite never receiving it. I felt my throat tighten. But I stayed still. She led that project after her assigned partner resigned, he continued. She covered 2 roles. Delivered early. And fixed errors that weren't hers. He looked directly at Amber. There is no record of your involvement. At all. The glass slipped from her fingers and shattered against the floor. No one moved. She stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Like I wasn't the quiet one anymore. My mother whispered her name. Amber. My sister swallowed. I was just trying to take credit? Mr. Harrison finished gently. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. I don't usually attend family dinners, he said, gathering his coat. But I'm glad I did. He looked at me. You deserve to be celebrated for your work. Not diminished for it. Then he left. No one spoke. My father cleared his throat. My sister finally looked down. And for the first time in my life, no one rushed to protect her. I picked up my purse. I think I'm done here, I said quietly. My sister reached for my arm. Wait. I stepped back. I've spent my whole life letting you speak over me, I said. Not anymore. I walked out into the night, my phone buzzing with messages I didn't open. I didn't need apologies. I didn't need explanations. I had my career, my integrity, and my silence on my terms. Let me tell you how I got here. How my brilliant, charming older sister turned my biggest achievement into her own personal spotlight. And how it took 6 years of patience and one devastating dinner for everyone to finally see the truth. My name is Natalie Brooks. I'm 29 years old, and for most of my life, I've lived in Amber's shadow. Not because I wanted to, because she made sure of it. Amber was 3 years older, effortlessly beautiful, and blessed with the kind of confidence that made people believe anything she said. She could walk into a room and own it. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one. The responsible one. The one who kept her head down and worked twice as hard for half the recognition. Our parents never saw it. To them, Amber was just naturally gifted. Charismatic. A leader. Me. I was steady. Reliable. The dependable daughter who didn't need as much attention. They never noticed how Amber took credit for things I did. How she'd retell my stories as her own. How she'd interrupt me mid-sentence and finish my thoughts, incorrectly, while everyone nodded along. It started small. In high school, I wrote a paper on economic theory that won a regional competition. Amber told everyone at dinner that she'd helped me outline it. She hadn't. In college, I landed an internship at a financial firm through my own application and interview. Amber told relatives she'd connected me with her friend who worked there. She didn't have a friend there. Each time I stayed quiet. Because confronting Amber meant drama. It meant tears, defensive outbursts, and eventually our parents taking her side. It was easier to let it go. But this was different. This was my career. 6 years ago, I started at Hartwell Analytics as a junior analyst. The company specialized in data consulting for mid-sized businesses, helping them optimize operations, reduce costs, and improve efficiency. It was exactly the kind of challenging, detail-oriented work I loved. I started at the bottom. Late nights, extra assignments, projects no one else wanted. I didn't complain. I kept my head down and proved myself through results. Meanwhile, Amber worked in marketing for a lifestyle brand. She posted beautiful photos online, attended product launches, and talked about brand partnerships over family dinners. Our parents ate it up. Amber's doing so well, my mother would say. She just closed another influencer campaign. When I mentioned a successful client project, the response was polite but distant. That's nice, dear. It didn't matter that I was building something real. Something lasting. By year 3, I was promoted to senior analyst. I managed 2 junior staff members and led smaller projects. It wasn't glamorous, but I was gaining experience and respect within the company. Amber's response when I told the family? Oh, that's great. I remember when I was climbing the ladder. It gets easier. She'd never climbed any ladder. She'd been in the same role for 4 years. But no one questioned it. Because Amber was confident. And confidence, I learned, could be mistaken for competence. Last year, everything changed. Our lead project manager, a woman named Victoria, abruptly resigned to move across the country with her husband. She'd been overseeing our largest client, Brenton Manufacturing, a company worth millions in annual revenue. The project was delicate. Brenton was implementing a new inventory system, and any mistakes could cost them serious money. We were in the final phase, just 8 weeks from completion. Mr. Harrison called me into his office the day after Victoria left. Natalie, he said, I need someone to take over the Brenton project. I blinked. Me? You've been shadowing Victoria for months. You know the client. You know the system. And frankly, you're the only person I trust to finish this without dropping the ball. I should have been thrilled. Instead, I was terrified. This wasn't just any project. It was the biggest account our division handled. If I failed, it wouldn't just hurt my career. It would hurt the entire company. I can do it, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. Mr. Harrison smiled. I know you can. The next 8 weeks were brutal. I worked 14-hour days, sometimes 16. I coordinated with Brenton's team, managed our internal staff, troubleshot problems that arose daily, and double-checked every single detail. There were moments I wanted to quit. Moments I sat in my car after midnight, too exhausted to drive home, wondering if I'd bitten off more than I could chew. But I didn't quit. I pushed through. And when we delivered the final system, 2 days early and under budget, Brenton So sent a personal thank you email to Mr. Harrison, praising the team's work. Specifically praising my leadership. Mr. Harrison forwarded it to me with one line. This is what excellence looks like. I cried in my office. Not because I was sad, because for the first time in my career I felt truly seen. 3 months later, Mr. Harrison called me in again. We're creating a new management position, he said. Team lead for client solutions. It comes with a significant raise, a team of 5 analysts, and direct oversight of major accounts. He slid a folder across his desk. I want you to take it. I stared at the offer letter, my heart pounding. Are you serious? Completely. You earned this, Natalie. The committee reviewed your performance from the last 18 months. Client retention, project outcomes, leadership evaluations. You were the unanimous choice. I accepted on the spot. That evening I called my parents to share the news. My mother answered and I could hear dishes clattering in the background. Mom, I have amazing news, I said, unable to keep the excitement from my voice. I got promoted. Team lead at Hartwell. It's a management position. There was a pause. Oh honey, that's wonderful. Hold on, let me get your father. When my dad picked up, I repeated the news. He congratulated me warmly, but I could hear the distraction in his voice. They were in the middle of dinner. We should celebrate, my mother said. How about this Saturday? I'll cook and we'll invite the family. That sounds perfect, I said. What I didn't know was that my mother had immediately called Amber after we hung up. And Amber, always looking for an opportunity to insert herself, had begun planning her own version of the evening. Saturday arrived. I spent the morning getting ready, choosing a navy dress that felt professional but not too formal. I wanted to look the part, confident, capable. The woman who'd earned this promotion. When I arrived at my parents' house, the driveway was already full of cars. My aunt and uncle. My younger cousin. Even my grandmother, who rarely attended family gatherings anymore. Inside, the dining room table was set with our nice dishes. My mother had prepared my favorite meal, roasted chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, and green beans. It smelled incredible. There she is, my aunt said, pulling me into a hug. The big promotion. We're so proud of you. I smiled, warmth spreading through my chest. This was what I'd hoped for. Recognition. Celebration. A moment that was mine. Then Amber walked in. She looked stunning as always, wearing a silk blouse and tailored pants, her hair perfectly styled. She hugged me and I caught the scent of her expensive perfume. Congratulations, little sister, she said, her smile bright. This is so exciting. For a moment I thought maybe tonight would be different. Maybe she'd let me have this. We gathered in the living room, everyone holding drinks and chatting. My father raised his glass. A toast, he said. To Natalie, who's worked so hard and achieved something truly impressive. We're proud of you. Everyone echoed the sentiment, glasses clinking. I felt my eyes sting with happy tears. Then Amber spoke. She really has worked hard, she said, her voice carrying easily across the room. And I'm glad I could be there to support her. I glanced at her, confused. Support? Oh, absolutely, my mother said. Sisters should always help each other. Amber smiled. I mean, if I hadn't stayed late every night fixing things for her, she wouldn't be where she is today. That's when the room went silent. That's when my world tilted. I stood there, frozen, holding my plate while everyone turned to look at me with new understanding in their eyes. Like puzzle pieces were clicking into place. And my sister, she didn't even glance my way. She was soaking in their admiration, their approval. She'd stolen my moment in a single sentence. Well, she continued, laughing softly, you all know how I am. I can't just let sloppy work slide. I basically coached her through the entire project. Her hand brushed my arm, possessive, like I was her pet project. Her success story. I felt heat rush to my face. My hands trembled slightly. But I didn't speak. Not yet. Because I knew if I reacted now, if I let my anger show, she'd twist it. She'd make me look jealous, defensive, unstable. But before I continue with what happened next, if you are enjoying this story, please like and subscribe. Someone actually clapped. My uncle. That's family, he said, nodding approvingly. Helping each other succeed. My aunt chimed in. Amber, you've always been so generous with your time. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my plate across the room. But I stood there, silent, watching my achievement dissolve into her narrative. My mother beamed at Amber. I always knew you had a gift for mentoring. My father looked at me with something new in his eyes. Gratitude. Like I should be thanking Amber for my own hard work. I forced a smile, my jaw tight. Wow, I said lightly. I didn't realize you'd been doing my job for me. A few people laughed nervously. My sister tilted her head, eyes sharp behind her smile. Oh honey, you know what I mean. I did. She meant that no matter what I accomplished, she'd find a way to diminish it. To make it about her. That's when the doorbell rang. My mother frowned, setting down her glass. Who's that? Everyone's already here. I turned toward the hallway, genuinely confused. I hadn't invited anyone else. But my sister's smile widened. She looked almost gleeful. Oh, she said casually, that must be your boss. My heart stopped. What? Before I could process what she'd said, my mother was already walking to the door. I heard murmured greetings and then Mr. Harrison stepped into view. He was still wearing his work jacket, a leather folder tucked under his arm. He smiled when he saw me. Natalie, he said warmly. Congratulations. You earned it. I opened my mouth but no words came out. Why was he here? Amber was already moving, positioning herself between us. She really did, she said, her voice dripping with false modesty. With a little guidance, of course. Mr. Harrison blinked. Guidance. She laughed, touching his arm like they were old friends. From me. We've collaborated quite a bit, actually. The word hung in the air. Collaborated. I felt something cold settle in my chest. She wasn't just lying to the family anymore. She was lying to my boss. To the man who'd actually seen my work, who knew the truth. I watched his expression change. Subtle but unmistakable. Not anger. Not confusion. Something sharper. Recognition. He looked at me. His eyes asked a silent question. I nodded once. Permission. Confirmation. An acknowledgement that yes, this was exactly what it looked like. I see, Mr. Harrison said slowly. Then he turned back to Amber, his smile polite but cold. Which part did you help with? He didn't hesitate. That was the thing about Amber. She never doubted herself even when she was completely wrong. The client pitch, she said confidently. The restructuring proposal. And honestly, the final execution. I spent hours on the phone with Natalie, walking her through the technical details. Every word was a lie. Every single one. I'd worked on the Brenton project alone. Victoria had left me detailed notes, but after that it was just me, managing the client, coordinating the team, troubleshooting problems at 2 a.m. when systems crashed. Amber didn't even know what company I worked for until last month. The room buzzed with impressed murmurs. My mother smiled proudly at her. My father leaned back in his chair, nodding like this explained everything. And Mr. Harrison, he smiled too. But it didn't reach his eyes. That's fascinating, he said, his tone carefully neutral. Because according to our records, you don't work for us. The silence was immediate and absolute. My sister laughed, but it came out too quickly, too high. Oh, I meant informally. As family. You know, just helping out where I could. Mr. Harrison nodded slowly. Then you'll understand why I'm confused. He turned to me and I saw the slightest hint of anger beneath his professional demeanor. Not at me, at what he was witnessing. Natalie, he said, would you mind explaining how the promotion decision was made? Every eye in the room snapped to me. The weight of their attention felt crushing. My sister's fingers tightened around her wine glass. Her smile had frozen in place, but her eyes were screaming at me to play along. To not rock the boat. To let her have this. I set my plate down carefully on the side table. When I spoke, my voice was calm. Steady. Sure, I said. The promotion was based on performance metrics from the last 18 months. Client retention, revenue growth, and leadership evaluations. I paused, meeting Amber's gaze directly. And the project she's referencing? The Brenton manufacturing account? I worked on that alone. After Victoria resigned, Mr. Harrison assigned it to me. I managed it from start to finish. My sister scoffed, a sharp sound. That's not fair. Mr. Harrison raised his hand, cutting her off. Actually, he said, it is. He reached into the leather folder he'd been carrying and pulled out a stapled document. This, he continued, holding it up, is the Evaluation Committee report. Authored by me and reviewed by 3 other senior managers. He walked over and handed it to my father. You're welcome to read it. My father's face went pale as he scanned the first page. My mother leaned over his shoulder, her expression shifting from confusion to shock. My sister stood frozen, her glass still clutched in white-knuckled fingers. She wasn't promoted because of help, Mr. Harrison said, his voice clear and firm. She was promoted despite never receiving it. I felt my throat tighten with emotion. But I stayed still, letting him speak. She led that project after her assigned partner resigned, he continued. She covered 2 roles. She delivered the final system 2 days early and under budget. And she fixed multiple errors that weren't hers, mistakes from previous management that could have cost us the client. He turned to face Amber directly. There is no record of your involvement. At all. Not in our emails. Not in our meeting logs. Not in any communication with the client. He paused. In fact, I had never heard your name until today. The glass slipped from Amber's fingers. It hit the hardwood floor and shattered, wine spreading in a dark stain across the wood. No one moved. No one breathed. She stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Like I was a stranger wearing her little sister's face. The quiet one. The one who never fought back. Except now I had. My mother whispered her name, barely audible. Amber. My sister swallowed hard, her composure cracking. I was just trying to take credit? Mr. Harrison finished, his tone gentler now but still firm. For work you didn't do? In front of her family? On the night we're celebrating her achievement. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. The silence stretched, painful and awkward. My aunt looked down at her plate. My uncle cleared his throat. Even my grandmother, who usually had something to say about everything, stayed quiet. Mr. Harrison gathered his coat from the back of a chair. I don't usually attend family dinners, he said, looking around the room. But when I received a call this afternoon inviting me, from someone claiming to be Natalie's sister, I was curious. My head snapped toward Amber. She'd invited him. She'd orchestrated this entire thing. I'm glad I came, he continued. He looked at me, his expression warm. You deserve to be celebrated for your work, Natalie. Not diminished for it. Then he nodded to my parents and walked toward the door. I heard it open and close softly behind him. No one spoke. The ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner seemed deafening. My father finally set the evaluation report down on the coffee table. He looked at Amber, then at me. I saw something shift in his eyes. Understanding, maybe. Or guilt. My sister finally looked down at the broken glass at her feet. I'll clean that up, she said quietly. But no one moved to help her. Not my mother. Not my father. For the first time in my life, they didn't rush to protect her from consequences. I picked up my purse from the chair. I think I'm done here, I said quietly. My sister's head shot up. Wait. She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. Her fingers caught only air. Natalie, please. I didn't mean. Yes, you did, I said. My voice was steady. Come. You meant every word. Just like you've meant it every other time you've taken credit for something I did. My mother gasped softly. Natalie, that's not. It is, I interrupted, looking at her. And you let it happen. You've always let it happen. I turned back to Amber. I've spent my whole life letting you speak over me. Letting you rewrite my accomplishments as yours. Staying quiet because confronting you meant drama, and drama meant I was the problem. My voice didn't shake. I'd practiced these words in my head 1,000 times, in 1,000 different scenarios. I just never thought I'd actually say them. Not anymore, I finished. I'm done being quiet. I'm done letting you take what's mine. Amber's eyes filled with tears. I'm your sister, she said, her voice breaking. I was trying to help. You were trying to help yourself, I said. To attention. To praise. To credit for work you didn't do. I looked around the room at my family, at the people who were supposed to support me, protect me, celebrate with me. I got this promotion because I earned it, I said. Not because of Amber. Not despite her. Because of 6 years of hard work that none of you ever bothered to notice. My father stood up. Natalie, we've always been proud. Have you? I asked. Or have you just been comfortable with me being the steady one? The one who doesn't need attention? The one who makes it easy for Amber to shine? He didn't answer. He couldn't. I walked toward the door, my heels clicking against the hardwood. Behind me I heard my mother say my name, pleading. But I didn't turn around. I stepped out into the cool evening air, pulling the door closed behind me. My phone was already buzzing in my purse. Texts probably. Apologies. Explanations. Demands that I come back and talk this through. I didn't open them. I didn't need to read what I already knew they'd say. I had my car keys in my hand. I had my promotion. I had my integrity. The drive home took 15 minutes, but it felt longer. My mind replayed the evening on a loop. Amber's confident lies, my family's easy acceptance, Mr. Harrison's unexpected intervention. I thought about all the times I'd stayed quiet. All the moments I'd let Amber take credit for my ideas, my work, my achievements. I told myself it was easier. Less complicated. But easier for who? When I got home to my apartment, I dropped my purse on the counter and just stood there in the dark kitchen, letting the silence settle around me. My phone buzzed again. I finally pulled it out. 12 missed calls. 18 text messages. Most were from my mother. Please come back. We need to talk about this. Amber is very upset. Of course Amber was upset. For the first time she'd been exposed. For the first time her lies had been challenged in front of an audience that mattered. My father had sent one message. We should discuss this when everyone's calmer. Translation. Let's wait until you're willing to smooth this over and pretend it didn't happen. My aunt had written, I had no idea there was tension between you girls. Tension. Such a small word for years of stolen credit. But there was one message that made me pause. It was from Mr. Harrison. I hope you're all right. What I witnessed tonight was unacceptable. You've earned every bit of that promotion. Don't let anyone make you doubt that. I sat down on my couch and typed back, thank you for coming. And for telling the truth. He responded within minutes. Someone needed to. See you Monday. Monday. The day I'd officially start my new role. Team lead. My own office. My own team. I set my phone down and finally let myself cry. Not from sadness, from relief. From release. From the overwhelming weight of finally standing up for myself after years of silence. The next few days were quiet. My mother called twice. I didn't answer. Amber sent a long text message explaining that she'd only been trying to participate in the celebration, that I'd misunderstood her intentions, that she never meant to upset me. I read it once and then deleted it. My father sent an email asking me to come to dinner the following weekend. To clear the air, he wrote. I didn't respond to that either. Because here's what I'd learned. Some people will only value your voice when they can no longer ignore it. And some apologies only come when the consequences become uncomfortable. Monday morning I walked into Hartwell Analytics with my head high. Mr. Harrison met me at my new office. A corner space with windows and a door that actually closed. Welcome to management, he said with a smile. My first week was intense. I met with my new team, reviewed ongoing projects and started planning our strategy for the next quarter. I worked late most nights, but this time it was different. This time I was building something that was undeniably mine. 2 weeks after the dinner, my mother finally stopped by my apartment. I almost didn't let her in, but curiosity won out. She stood in my living room looking smaller than I remembered. Older. I owe you an apology, she said. We all do. I waited, arms crossed. I didn't realize how much we'd overlooked you, she continued. How much we'd let Amber take credit for your accomplishments. I thought we were just being supportive of both of you. You were supportive of her, I corrected. I was just there. She flinched. That's not fair. Isn't it? I asked. When's the last time you asked me about my actual work? Not just, how's the job, but what I do, what projects I'm leading, what I'm proud of. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She couldn't answer because she never had. Amber has always needed more attention, she said finally. She's always been more fragile. And I haven't? I asked. I've just been better at hiding it. We talked for an hour. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't a neat resolution where everything was forgiven and forgotten. But it was honest. Maybe for the first time. Before she left, she said, Amber wants to apologize to you. In person. I'm not ready for that, I said. She nodded. I understand. When you are, if you are, she'll be there. 3 months later, I still haven't spoken to Amber. She sent one more message, shorter this time. I'm sorry. I hope someday you'll let me explain. I didn't respond. Maybe someday I will. Maybe I'll be ready to hear whatever explanation she thinks justifies years of taking credit for work she didn't do. But not today. Today I'm focused on my career, on my team, on building something real and lasting that no one can take from me. Last week we landed another major client, a manufacturing company even bigger than Brenton. Mr. Harrison assigned it to my team, and this time I have 4 talented analysts working under my leadership. This time when we succeed, there won't be any question about who did the work. My parents came to my apartment last Sunday. My father brought flowers. My mother brought homemade lasagna. It was awkward at first, but we're learning. They're learning to see me, not as the quiet daughter, not as Amber's little sister, but as Natalie, the woman who earned her promotion through 6 years of hard work. I haven't been back to a family dinner. I'm not sure when I will be. But I did meet my grandmother for coffee last Tuesday. She's 83 and sharp as ever. I always knew you had steel in you, she said, stirring her tea. I just wondered when you'd let everyone else see it. It took a while, I admitted. Good things usually do, she replied. That evening I got an email from Mr. Harrison. The subject line read, Opportunity. Inside was an offer to present our recent success with the new client at the annual company conference. It would mean speaking in front of 200 people, executives, clients, competitors. A year ago the thought would have terrified me. I would have found a reason to decline. Instead I typed back, I'd be honored. Because I've learned something important over these past few months. Your voice doesn't get stronger by staying silent. It gets stronger by using it even when it shakes. Especially when it shakes. I still think about that dinner sometimes. About the moment Amber took credit for my work, and the moment Mr. Harrison exposed the truth. It wasn't the ending I expected, but it was the beginning I needed. I haven't spoken to my sister since that night. Maybe I never will. Maybe someday we'll find a way back to something resembling a relationship. But right now I'm okay with the distance. I'm okay with the silence. Because for the first time in my life, it's a silence I chose. And I've never felt more promoted in my life.